So with that, we'll have a reduced version of this workshop, but I think this space was important to have a little bit of a reflection. I know we don't have that much time to reflect and to pause because of the intensity of the work that we do and the amount of presentation and the amount of content that we had. But I wanted to get a sense of how you were experiencing things. I'm glad that things are going well, that you're learning, and that the main problem is that there's too much to learn from. So not too little, which is, I think, a good problem to be in. How to organize what the lessons are is better than how to organize nothing. So I'm happy for that. And so now we'll do what we are going to do in this workshop. This is more hands-on, so you won't be listening from me that much, but we'll be working on the issues of credibility, transparency, and integrity. And I first wanted to start with a reflection on what comes to mind with the word integrity, and what comes to mind with the word credibility, and if they are related to you. I had another poll, but since we've had 3 already, I thought we could just do this in plenary. Anyone wants to say what it comes to mind with the word integrity? What do they mean? But what do you understand by credibility, and if they're related or not?
Well, I think integrity is related first to the values of the organization, what we value. I mean, to say, for example, to base our opinions on facts, to be open about where we get the facts and how to analyze and provide proposals that be balanced and taking different point of view, kind of to maintain this rigor and this way to put things that is always people can trust, and there's got a relation with credibility. We maintain our integrity, saying we're independent. These are the facts. These are the evidence. We show them how we get into there, and of course we are open about if we have any interest in the issue. We are open about that, and this helps us as well with credibility.
Okay, so integrity is about your values, being transparent, and definitely relating to credibility. Okay, Ma?
Yeah, so in addition to what Eduardo has said, but this time narrowing it down to the researcher and not just the organization, I think integrity borders on, doing good quality research, also ensuring that it also, obviously stuff like plagiarism, you totally avoid that, and also citing the researchers who have conducted the research, right? Whether it's in-house or, if you get an idea from a paper, citing that paper. Yeah, I think for a researcher, it really borders on doing good quality research that is well cited. You're not trying to steal anybody's work, and yeah. So that's my opinion.
Okay. So a really important point on the relationship with on research quality for a think tank, and being open about your sources and transparent, and how that builds your credibility. Just a quick on the messages we're having, that we had a message saying that integrity is a bit more internal and credibility is external. And integrity helps build credibility. And finally, let's do one more with Ted.
Yeah, actually, I think this integrity and credibility is quite connected and important for the, I think, success of a think tank. Um, and when I am saying that, I mean integrity, not only in terms of the moral principle relating to research ethics, but also to the humanisms, and the democracy. That's what I think is clearly important for a society like Myanmar. Uh, but Myanmar actually is not alone, and I think every society on the world now have been very much divided in terms of their moral principles, uh, far away from the humanisms to more nationalistic, um, and yeah, extremists and things like that. So, what I really want to put forward is the think not only think tank but also every organizations, especially who are within the arena of these civil societies. We should be we should have integrity not only as a research ethics but also as ethics of humanisms and democracies and yeah, those liberal values. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, that, and thank you very much for all your comments. So we were seeing a trend or something emerge from what you're saying. So integrity relates to how you conduct yourself, internally, and there's it definitely relates to the values that you have to enact those values. And credibility is, from what you're saying, is it seems more to be something external that can feed off on your integrity, but might not necessarily do so. So with that in mind, we'll go, and with the fractions that we've been having, we'll be going into group work at the moment. Let me introduce the group work, and then keep this in mind. And when we come back, we'll have a final discussion on the relationship of integrity and credibility, and I'll do a little plug of the work that I did on a paper that I wrote on credibility. But we'll do that after the group work. So I'll share what we want to do right now. Right. So we want to do an exercise in groups of 5. They call the Transparify Think Tank Integrity Check. So Transparify is it's a platform that provides ratings of the financial transparency of major think tanks. We have the link here, and we'll share it in the chat in briefly. And in 2017, Transparify did a workshop for think tankers on how to manage reputational risks. So, and based on that workshop, they developed a tool, and we have developed that tool into a Google form, which we'll use for the chat. Sorry. So this is the link to Transparify, and this is the link to the thing that we'll be doing right now. So the Transparify Think Tank Integrity Check. So in groups, please review each of these statements. Oh, this is the link of the tool, and this is the link of what we'll be doing right now. This is a reduced version that we do. The link has, the tool has 31 statements, but we will be using 18. So the statements are like this. Your founder asks you to see a study she funded 1 week in advance so that her media and government relations team can fully prepare for the day you launch it. You have to decide in a group if this is okay or if this is unacceptable. To do this, think about your context, where you're based, the type of organization that you have. Would you agree to this or not? Could this compromise your organization's intellectual independence and integrity? Could this be perceived as a compromise to your intellectual independence? Do you have systems, safeguards, and processes in place to mitigate and manage all associated risk? Are your staff and other collaborators aware of these systems? I'll share the link right now to the group, so you can access it. So when we go into groups, please first write your group number, and then decide as a group if that's okay or not. They're all difficult decisions. It might be that for some it is okay, but for others it is not. And it might be also that it might be okay with some caveats. So you just need to decide on one of them. If you're struggling and doubting which to choose, think of what you will need to do to make it that okay, and we can do that, and we can discuss that on the plenary. And any questions on how to do the exercise before we move to groups? Do as many as you can, but we will not be able to finish all of them. We'll have, it's 9:30, so we'll have 20 minutes for the group work, and then we'll reconvene for the plenary. Any questions? If not, we'll just move on to groups that Christina will be assigning you to. So I think now that we're all back, almost all back, what did you think of the exercise before we move on to seeing the answers?
For me, it was very interesting, and we did not have much time because some issues are really gray zones, and we needed much more time to discuss, and we also had experience with some of the situations. So it in sometimes, I mean, because it is a gray zone, it depends on the further context. Who actually is the funder? What is the topic? And such. Which sector are we working in, and such.
Yeah, as some of you mentioned, it was difficult to decide, and I think Diego makes a good point on these questions. Force us to choose between two types of ethics of conviction, conviction principles, and ethics of responsibility of results. Diego, can you elaborate a bit on what you mean? Because I think there's some questions on that.
I thought it was very interesting because, you know, either you have to establish some principles and then you have to follow them no matter what, and it might cost the life of your think tank, or you have a more utilitarian approach and you allow for some things and not allow for the more, you know, murky ones in order to be realistic, you know. So that's the choice I saw in every question.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You need to this is an exercise to reflect on where is your own line. So where do you draw your line in your organization based on the structure of it as well? So if you're a consultancy, some of it might be okay because you work in a contract for the funder, so that might be okay. But if you're committed and have the values of your organizations are different, it might be not okay at all. And so let's go Doña, Pamela, and then I'll put up the answers.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say also that I think in real life, it's not so radical yes or no. I think there's a lot of, we can have a third option, which will keep our values and principles while managing the situation to make sure that it's a win-win, but without degrading our principles. You know, there's always a way of, you know, diplomatically saying yes or diplomatically saying no, and, you know, still having a cordial relationship to make sure that it doesn't put us off grid completely. This is my experience, at least.
Thanks. Pamela?
Yeah, often on face value, when you look at something, it seems okay, you know, just reading it. But when you're given the opportunity to do a deep dive and think about the different impacts that it could have, whether from a legal perspective, a policy perspective, or what's right and wrong simply, then you kind of rethink them and you think, no, this doesn't work. And if you look at it in this angle, so this is where the challenges come in. And I guess every day in our life, if we just look at everything on face value, it all will seem well. But life doesn't happen that way. So I think that's where the challenges come in.
Yeah, I like what you say that in life, you both relate to that you have ways to negotiate. So it's not just black and white, but you also have your strategies, but you all have to think them in advance. So what are you comfortable with and what relates to your organization? We have just a couple more minutes, and I wanted to share one other reflection with that. So all of this is based on integrity, but what about the relationship of this integrity with credibility? We were discussing earlier that integrity does relate to credibility, but credibility is in the eye of the beholder. So it's not a straight line as well. So whatever you do people will react differently. So depending on who your stakeholders are, they will see what you do differently. So if you're a private sector and you collude with private sector people, they might be fine for them, and your credibility might be intact to the audiences, but to other audiences it might become tarnished. We wrote a paper on credibility a couple of years ago, and I just want to quickly share some of the factors that we identified, which is some of the things that you've highlighted now. So we identify some of these issues as important to credibility, but the key thing was that it was not just that credibility is one standard thing that you have or you do not have, but it's something that is awarded to the organization and it's awarded by the stakeholders to which you engage with. So just as a quick sample, I don't know how many of you know about the Heritage Foundation. So the Heritage Foundation is very much aligned with the Republican Party, and for some it has incredible credibility, but to some it's absolutely rubbish what they publish. So it depends who your audiences are, who will be awarding your credibility, and you should work to establish your credibility for your own audiences based on this is some of the factors that we identified. And I can see here many of the issues that you raised. So it's transparency, it's autonomy and independence, it's research quality, it's the past impact that you've had, it's the communications. Carolina was mentioning the key aspect of your website, and there's a lot of studies on how the website of an organization it directly influences how it is perceived by others. So if it's a very old and not frequently updated website, people thought that it was dead and that what it said wasn't credible. So do think about how you communicate and what you put out to your audiences. It needs to be credible to your own audiences. So it's really good to us, like Carolina was saying today, to identify who you're speaking to make sure that the way that you speak to them is presenting, is that the word? Is portraying the credibility that you wish to. I see that there's some messages in the chat. Any final thoughts on this? Again, we rush with everything, but as in life, this is how we need to manage it. Any last comments on this exercise? We encourage you to do this with your organization as well. If you see the results, you will see that not all of you agreed, and I'm sure that in your own groups you all had different ideas as well. I listened into some groups, and there were some discrepancies between you. So if you do it with your own teams, you'll be able to draw the line and identify what is your organizational values and what you want to do it, and what you think is okay and what you think it's not okay. So any final comments, just speak up, because we're a few of us now. Yes, it deserves more time. We struggle to decide what gets more time and what gets less time, because everything that we present needs more time. So we need to run a 6-week school intensive for everything that deserves time to be there. But yes, we try to each year tweak what we can. But every time we get this comment that we need more time for this, but then we don't have it. So it's just we take what we have. But yes, we do take your point, Diego. Yeah, we could do a retreat, Donia. That would be we'll pose that for a future. We could do an alumni retreat. I think that could work quite well with we integrating all the different cohorts for a recap. Right, so this is what we have, in case someone shared something. New responses. So for the first one, we had 80% that said, yes, it's okay, and one that said no. This one, so this is on the expert that works part-time. Most of you thought that it wasn't okay, but one of you thought that it was. And in most, it's there's always one. I don't know if it's the same group, but you can see that there's differences. And I found one that was 50-50. If you want to spare 2 more minutes, we can discuss this one. So as part of your commitment to transparency, you have recently instituted conflict of interest. So you know this. Who said yes and who said no? Who wants to share?
May I just contribute to this discussion? We had a lot of discussion on this question because we didn't know what should be evaluated here, whether the question is, should we have biased researchers who hold shares in companies, or should we make this information transparent? And then we chose to interpret the question as whether we choose it to be transparent. So that is showing our integrity, but perhaps affecting our credibility. And we thought, yes, it is okay to be transparent. It is better to be transparent than not. However, if the question was, should we have biased researchers, then we would probably answer no.
And if you can, we can continue discussing a little bit with a few that are here. But I'd like to, for people who have to go, say goodbye. Have a good Saturday and Sunday. You have a break tomorrow, which is, I think, much needed to digest everything that we've discussed this week. And try, if you can, to read something what we've shared, or just take a break from the school. Sometimes I find that whenever I do nothing, I learn more. Have a good Sunday, everyone. And thank you again for a great week. You've made the first week of the online school great. So thank you for this.